Welcome to Say Yes and Become. I am your host, Leonard Lee, and today I have my second favorite guest that has ever been on this podcast. I say second only because my wife's been on the podcast before. She was a little more reluctant than this guest, but I have known this person since before they were born. They I don't know what you hear in a womb, but if you did, she realized before she was ever born that I'm hilarious. I'm her uncle Leonard, and this is my amazing niece, whom I love and adore, who I'm so proud of. And she's agreed to join me because we're going to tell you a story today. And it's a story about Jesus. It's a story about hope. It's a story about a God who never fails to show up, but doesn't always show up in the way you think. It's a story that says God is just huge, and so we're going to talk about that today. And so, would you just enjoy the sweet voice of Jennifer French? Hey, lady, welcome to Say Yes and Become. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi.
So, tell me about, or tell our listeners a little bit about you. What do you like to do? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I'm Jennifer French, and I am a mother of two biological children. I've picked up a couple extras along the way that are foster kids, adopted kids. They're pretty amazing. I've been married to my husband for 21 years. I live in Montana. I have two amazing dogs that kind of fill the void now that my children are grown.
What are their
Um,
names?
I have Dodger. We call him Dodgeball. He's a big 110-pound German Shepherd. And
Yep.
then I have Scarlet, who is a pit bull mastiff rescue that we got. She was emaciated and riddled with worms. She had a big infection in her head. The vet said she wouldn't have lived another week if we hadn't gotten her.
Hmm.
And now she's a year old and she's crazy and psycho and healthy, and I love her.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I love to garden. I love to go fishing. I work with special needs kids at a school. Um, I absolutely adore that work. I wish I'd found it 20 years ago. I love to watch those kids go from sometimes not being able to speak, not knowing anything, to being able to read and
Mm.
write. Um,
Pretty
I'm
amazing.
just kind of a busy person.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jen, what's your favorite thing to grow?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. I knew the answer to that. So I need to know this because my tomatoes just look like Moe's. There's no tomato in them, and they're terrible. What is the secret of your tomatoes? Because every time I've ever seen a picture of your tomatoes, I think I want to go there. I want to steal all of her tomatoes. What's the secret to growing good tomatoes?
I crush eggshells and put them in the soil.
Okay.
They like the calcium, and I fertilize with sphagnum moss.
Okay.
My beds are raised beds. My husband built them for me because I have a hard time getting it down on the ground anymore.
Mhm.
Um, so the soil is really healthy. Um, I grow them with cabbages. They kind of like the it's like a symbiotic type of relationship. They feed each
Mhm.
other. Um, and I talk to my plants. I I prune all my branches from the like the one branch that has the tomatoes, the bottom one.
Yep.
I prune from them down,
Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So, well, see, you just talking about that stuff. I'm thinking mine go out in the backyard and are told to fend for themselves. Maybe that's why they're just mows. Um, you know, we are going to have a conversation about you and your life. Um, I just want to say to anybody listening, I got a lot of people in this world I love and respect. But one of the people at the top of my list is my niece, Jennifer. And it's because she has a story to tell that is a Jesus story. It's all about God, but it has he's been obvious in so many ways. And then there's other things you go, hold the phone, Jesus. We're not sure that you got the right number here. And but along the way, her faith has not just remained strong; it's grown. and it's changed and transformed her, and it's been an example to so many people. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go into the Wayback Machine. I remember when you were born, and I knew your mom. I knew your mom when she was in high school, and she was a couple years older than me, but I remember her then. Uh, Tremendous athlete, tremendously fun human being, tremendously loved people, all those things, and you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
That stuff probably never really went away from her, except the athletics. Um, your mom was in a very serious automobile accident that left her from the waist down, not paralyzed, but deeply disfigured in some ways, and tore out half of her hip and buttocks and muscles, and so she had to learn to walk differently again, and all kinds of different struggles and trials. Um, that's your mother, and your mother also was a type 1 diabetic,
Yep.
and not your like, oh, I've got diabetes, but type 1 diabetic. Let's shout it out loud, because it was a very very severe um, uh, struggle for her over the years, and it was exacerbated. And I'm just going to tell a little bit of this, and if you want to just jump in, jump in. It was exacerbated by her recovery, because her recovery led her to some addictions that hampered her ability to see life um, in the way God intended her to see it, to see herself in the way God intended her to see herself. And those addictions, the diabetes, um, led her to some choices that maybe well, I know at the end of her days, she'd look back and go, man, I wish I'd never done those things. And
Hmm.
she wasn't a person of regret, because she learned a lot along the way. But she would say, yeah, I what she regretted was the hurt she caused in people, because she just loved people. Am I on track so far?
You are.
Okay, good. And your mom and I laughed a lot growing up. Um, we were a little bit not naughty, but we shared bowling words together. Um, we'd make jokes together that included a few colorful metaphors, and my brother and her got married when they were 20, and if you're thinking, man, that seems young, in this case it was, because both of them brought into that relationship some serious wounds and bruises. And if you were ever to meet my brother, you would see that he is a duty bound man. I got to do this. I have to do this. This is the right thing. I have to do this. Um, and he's not always accurate in having to, but his heart is always true. And going, man, I got to do this. And so uh, that led to a lot of collisions in their marriage. And that marriage ended, leaving Jennifer with a father who didn't know how to parent her at the time, and a mother who was addicted. Have I
Yeah.
missed anything?
No, you're right on track.
Okay, I'm trying to say it well, because here's what we know is that, and Jennifer, you can talk about this in a little bit. Jennifer's mom eventually got clean and sober,
She
and
did.
all the things that I've described as the beauty in her began to shine. And Jennifer literally got to see that part of her mom for several years before her mom passed away. And so Jennifer is. I'm not going to tell anybody that your age, um, but if you want to say that you're 45, you can.
I'm 45.
There you go. See, you said it, not me. Um, and so along the way, um, we would see Jennifer off and on. We'd see her in a family gathering. She would come over. She'd be around. My mother, her grandmother, pretty significant human being in Jen's life. Um, that's just who my mom was, and the way she loved her girls. And Jen was one of her girls, and you know that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I'd have been lost without that woman.
Yeah. It's amazing the role grandparents play, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and then I think you were 9 years old when we had a moment together. Um, it was right before Thanksgiving, and I said, "Is Jen coming to this family celebration tomorrow?" And everybody went, "Well, I don't know. I don't know." And your dad, who was still struggling at the time, said, "I don't know. I'm just muttering and whatever." And I might have said something that wasn't kind or Christian. Um, Maybe it was. I don't know. I said, "I'm going to go get her," and that's what we did. I went and found her. Not you. I didn't have to look for you. I knew where you were, and I just think that was a God moment because I showed up at your house. I knocked on the door. Um, your mom answered the door, and she looked at me with just shock in her eyes. But your mom and I didn't fight. We didn't have issues of tension.
She
Um,
loved you. She used to
oh,
tell me you were the best thing in the family.
hey, and that's stiff competition between Grandma and Lois. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call Lois and tell her I was the
Well, I think
best.
it's because you shared what did you call it? Bowling words with her.
Yes, we did. We
Bowling
did.
words are not Lois's style.
No, no, she mutters them. She doesn't say them out
She
loud.
might think them.
You know, yeah, I've heard her say them too, but that was at me. Um, and so I showed up. I knocked on the door, and she looked at me like, "Why are you here? What is happening?" And I said, "I've come to get Jen for Thanksgiving." And she muttered something about her ex-husband. Well, she didn't mutter; she just said it. And I said, "Well, I said I'm not here for him. I'm here for Jen, and I'm going to take her with me. And there's a really good chance I'm not bringing her back." And she looked at me like, "What? Are you able to say that? What?" And I said, "You want better for her than this." And I know you do, but you're just not able to bring it yet. And so I'm gonna take her, and we're gonna give her better than this. And she didn't fight me. She didn't fuss. She helped pack a bag, and off we went. You want to take the story from there?
Yeah.
Did if I missed anything? If you
No,
anybody want to add to it?
I think you watched me grow up.
I did watch you grow up. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I went to your house that day that you showed up at the house. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure it was filthy. I'm sure it smelled awful. I'm sure I hadn't had a bath in several days. Um, and you took me to your house, and I remember walking in and being like, "The house is clean." And I
Thank you,
remember,
Marilee.
yeah, thank you, Marilee. She keeps a beautiful home. I've always said that. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember making pies. There's a picture somewhere of you and I both completely covered in flour.
Yes.
I have
Yes. Yes.
handprints on my face, big old flour handprints, and probably the biggest smile I'd had in a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
We had fun that night, didn't we?
we did. I remember Marilee's cat boxing with her across the living room floor.
Yes. That was Jenny the cat.
Yep. And I
Same name.
remember being surprised that your cat used the toilet as the restroom. That
She
was
did.
that was shocking for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We discovered a law of physics that night that it is impossible to put too much sugar, apples, and cinnamon in one pie.
it just makes it better, even if
It
nobody eats it.
does. It does. We were talking about that, and Marilee said, You guys were sitting there having a flour fight in my kitchen, and it was going everywhere. And if you know Marilee, and you do, that's not her style.
No.
And she said, I was never going to stop that because the laughter and the fun coming out of that kitchen was from Jesus himself.
Yeah.
It was a transitional healing moment for you that you could look back on. Well, now it's been 36 years.
Hmm.
Um, and something began that day for you. What began that day for you?
That was pivotal moment in my life. Like, I can look back and it's my life is before that moment and after.
Mm.
That started a chain reaction that got me out of the home with my mother,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and out of a home that wasn't safe, out of a home where there was no support. I was on my own. You know, my mom was drinking. Her husband at the time was not the most safest person.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, I moved to a place that was safe. My dad ended up with custody of me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember going through that court battle and having to talk to the judge, you know, as a little 9-year old kid. And I just told the judge, I said, the environment my mom has is not safe. And I'm
Mm.
scared every day.
Yeah.
Um, and so my dad moved in with my grandma, your mom,
Mm-hmm.
um, and my life changed.
Yeah. You guys all lived together there for quite a while.
Several
And
years, two,
yeah,
three,
yeah.
three.
And that gave you the freedom to truly heal or begin
Mm-hmm.
healing without having to go backwards every step of the way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So let me ask you this question. Um, what was so safe about your grandma?
Jesus, her love,
Mm. Yeah.
um, the acceptance without judgment, the, oh, I'm going to cry.
Do that.
um,
That's okay.
she just, she just loved me.
Yeah. Boy, she did. She
She
did.
taught me. I mean, when I moved in there, I didn't know how to to take a good shower. I didn't know how to pick up a house. I didn't know how to cook anything. I was 9 years old, which some people think is too young, but she she just stepped right into what I needed.
Yeah. And
And
she could cook like crazy, couldn't she?
oh, she could. I cook some of her recipes to this
Mm.
day, and they're everybody's favorites. I make her steak Chicano and
Mm.
pot roast and lasagna. In fact, I made her lasagna here not too long ago.
Oh, nice. Nice. So her enchiladas were like to die for
Oh,
too.
I make those too.
Yeah. Yeah. So she just had a way of putting food together that made you go, this is what it's supposed to taste like. We might serve this in
Hmm.
heaven,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And so your grandmother, her love for you created safety. And then she secured that safety. And I'm using my words. You can change them if you'd like. Secured that safety through acceptance, through a process of saying, "Hey, can I just teach you? Can I
Yeah.
just
And
teach you some?"
she didn't teach me like this.
Right.
She led by example.
Yeah. Yeah.
She showed me a different way to live,
Mm.
a life with peace and laughter and light. Like
Yeah.
Jesus light just shone through her
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've never seen before
Mm.
or
Well,
since
probably
probably.
since.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remarkable, remarkable woman. All of our lives are better because Evelyn Mason was in them, and we're very happy. So you stayed there with Grandma, and you were there for about 3 years, and then you were whisked away to Sparks, Nevada.
Actually, no, we stayed in Sacramento for
Okay,
until I was 14. Yeah.
okay, all right. So you had a few more moments in Sacramento, and then Sparks, Nevada. They used to say that Reno and Sparks were sitting right next to each other. So I would always tell your brother, they say, Reno's so close to hell you can see Sparks.
That's true.
And he would look and go, just give me that heavy sigh. And he said, you're not even a dad and you're telling dad jokes. Come on. And, dial a dad joke right here. No, so you guys moved there. You went to high school there. You graduated high school. And once you finished high school, that's when you moved to Big Sky Country, right?
I did. I was 21. I I knew two people up there, but I moved up there basically on my own. Like I didn't really know anybody up there. I had taken a vacation up there a couple years prior, and I like to say I had a wild hair, and I just moved. And I met my husband 2 days after I moved there.
Okay.
Um, I didn't go on a date with him. I moved there a week after 9/11,
All right. Yeah.
and I didn't go on a date with him until a couple days before Christmas. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. I just wanted to start living my own life.
Yeah.
And God had other plans.
Well,
He
you're
really
still
did.
living your own life. You just got somebody else in it now. And
Yeah.
so you and Brian were together a few years, and then you got married.
Yep.
And then God gave you a couple kids, Melody, who is uh, just this amazing, sweet girl who is also now married. And so you got to
Chargers, yeah. Yes.
you got to and then Gracie.
Yep.
Gracie girl. We have a lot of names for her. And whenever you guys would come down and visit, I'd always try to make sure I got to be over there and spoil them rotten with donuts and everything else, and just have a lot of fun that way. Um, and so, by the way, we didn't say this. You also, what age were you diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
About 9,
About
right? Not
9?
too long after I moved in with dad and grandma.
Okay.
But I was diagnosed. I kind of have a weird diagnosis. It's not type 1 and it's not type 2. I was diagnosed as a type 2 in the 80s, which
Mm.
was unheard of. And I took oral medication. I went on insulin when I was pregnant with my girls. And then I was able to go back on oral medication. I didn't go on insulin until my mid 30s.
Okay. All right. So
So, I mean,
it's attacked you pretty good over the years, but it didn't really get fierce until after your girls were born and you were in your mid 30s.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Um, along the way, at what point did you trust Jesus?
living with grandma.
Okay.
I was about 10 and
Yeah.
I wanted what she had.
Yeah.
And she always talked about Jesus, but she talked about him like he was her friend.
Mm.
Like it wasn't like this big God that sits above, and it was, he's my friend
Yeah.
and I do life with him.
Mm.
Um, she talked to him like, like he was her friend, like
Yeah.
her father.
Yeah. Man, she loved to pray, didn't she?
She did. She's the biggest prayer warrior I've ever met.
Yeah. Lois is just like that too. And Grandma Dietz, my mom's mom was like that. So we got a pretty good legacy of prayers in our family. I
Yeah.
think otherwise you and I both would be screwed.
I was gonna say we're all blessed because of it.
Exactly. Exactly. So we need more prayers and if you're out there listening right now. Um so we're telling your story. Your is there anything in your story so far that we're missing? Because it's going to set the stage for what's been going on in your life the last several years. But any part of your story we're missing that you'd want to add or clarify or just change?
No,
No?
I think you know me pretty well.
I have studied you for some time. Yes. So along the way, when you went on insulin, you also started having other things with your diabetes, your blood sugar, your kidneys, and then you had a. You're gonna have to give me the name of it because um, I'm going to say it wrong, but you had a digestive thing that went on. What was that called?
Gastroparesis.
Gastroparesis. And
Gastroparesis.
what is that? Because it sounds bad.
Um, it was not fun. Um, it's basically paralysis of your digestional tract.
Hmm.
So I also at that time was diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy. So I
Okay.
started going blind.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's been over 10 years now. I get shots in my eyes every 10 weeks.
Hmm.
Uh, but gastroparesis, basically, my stomach stopped working, my intestines stopped working. Um, and I threw up between 20 and 50 times a day for
Wow.
18 months.
Wow. That's like working on your core and your abs, so right, isn't it?
Uh, Only time in my life I had abs.
That's a terrible way. I've got good news and
Yeah.
bad news, Jen. You're going to have abs of steel, but the way you're going to get them is to vomit 50 times a day.
Yeah.
That's per-
It was
what?
awful. I got down to about 107 pounds.
Wow. I
I died
remember.
twice.
Yeah. On the table,
I
just like
flatlined twice.
yeah.
I was life flighted to Seattle to a big hospital there twice.
Yeah.
Um, it was a nightmare. They didn't know what was wrong. I mean, they knew that I had gastroparesis, but there's no real treatment for it. They can give you meds, but I would just throw up through those meds.
Yeah.
Um, I could not get out of the hospital. I'd get out of the hospital for like 2 days and I'd go back. My kids at that point were in middle school. Um, my husband, bless him, is just amazing. He made sure my kids didn't starve and that they were doing their homework and getting the things done that they needed to do. But he also, was at the hospital every day, even if it was just for 20 minutes. The nurses at that point said that I have a friend who I met her through that. She was my
Hmm.
nurse. And she has said she never understood what love was until she watched Brian come and see me
Mm.
every day, even if I was not awake, even if I was unconscious. Um, he, I mean, he would clean me up.
Mm.
He just is amazing. But I threw up constantly.
Yeah.
I threw up the lining of my esophagus. I, about 6 months in, they started using feeding tubes in my nose. They talked about something called a gastric stimulator,
Mhm. That's like a
which,
pacemaker for your tummy, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a easy way to explain it.
Yeah.
Um, and so they put one in Seattle. My surgeon at the time was one of the pioneers of that procedure. And I threw up right through that. It didn't
Hmm.
work for me. And normally it worked really well for diabetic gastroparesis. Um,
They also
I
found a Tonka trunk that was a Tonka Hot Wheel truck that was left inside of you. I'm making that up.
no, but yeah, they put that in and I continued to throw up. They eventually put in a surgical feeding tube and I had nothing by mouth at all for
Mm.
8 months. The surgical feeding tube also had a drain, so the feeding part went in my belly, through my stomach, and into my jejunum. And the drain went from my stomach out, and it just constantly drained the stomach acid that
Mm.
just naturally occurs in your stomach so that I would stop throwing it up because my esophagus at that point was just it was ruined. To this day, I have so much scar tissue. I cough very easily.
And you no
But
longer sing opera.
no, that was the other thing is, I sang forever. And I
Yeah.
mean, I was on the worship team at church and I can sing now, but it makes me cough and my
Mm.
voice isn't quite the same. That really just kind of crushed me that I can't really sing as much. Um, but I sing anyway, maybe just not for
Yeah.
everybody else to hear anymore. And
That works.
yeah,
So,
but yeah, and they put that gastric stimulator in there and you can, like, they put a thing on your skin outside of your body, and it like adjusts like the frequency and the voltage, and it's kind of like a pacemaker where they can make adjustments, and they just couldn't get it to work.
Huh.
Um, so my surgeon, his name was Dr. Thirlby, over at Virginia Mason Hospital in Seattle. Because I live in Montana,
Right.
he said, "Okay, I want you to call me every week." And I'd call him. We had a set time every Wednesday, and and I'd tell him how I was doing, if I was, how many times I'd thrown up, and if I'd been in the hospital, or whatever. And that went on. I got out of Virginia Mason in July because I watched 4th of July fireworks from the 18th floor in downtown Seattle. Um, and I got home and I talked to him every week, and I just continued to throw up. I couldn't work. I couldn't really raise my kids. I was still in and out of the hospital because I'd throw up so much. I would get dehydrated. I had a backpack that had my feed, like my tube feed food that kept me alive. And it was just 24 hours a day. It would just give me just a little bit at a time. And come around Christmas time, at that point, Dr. Thirlby had made an appointment to remove my stomach. He said, like, you can't continue this. It's really, you're throwing up so much. It's causing real damage. And I think the only way we're going to get you to stop is to take your stomach out.
Wow.
And I was looking at being on a feeding tube, a surgical one, for the rest of my life.
Right.
That was terrifying.
Oh,
I'm a
absolutely.
very active person. I like to go outside. I like to, and it would be in my intestines, would be the feeding tube. So it's not like I can give myself a large, like, bolus of
Right.
food, like a meal. It has to be like a slow trickle all the
Yeah.
time. So I would be hooked up to that forever.
Hmm.
And so he had made that appointment. The surgery was scheduled between Christmas and New Year's. And I called him about Thanksgiving Day time, and I said, I didn't throw up today. And that's the first time in 18 months I hadn't thrown up.
Right.
And he says, really? And I said, yeah, I didn't throw up today. I don't know why. He said, what did you do different? And I said, nothing. I didn't do anything. And he says, okay, call me tomorrow. And so I called him the next day, and he says, how are you? And I said, I didn't throw up again today. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. Now, through this whole thing, I've prayed. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I talked to God. I learned more about Jesus
Hmm.
in hospital rooms because he met me there. I can remember about 6, maybe 8 months into it, I was home and I'm losing so much weight, I can't function. At that point, my muscles had atrophied enough that I needed help. I couldn't shower by myself. I needed help walking. Um, and I remember sitting in my bathroom and just crying. And God, do you see me here? I know you're there. Like, I know you're there. Do you see me here? Do you see, I'm dying. Like, I am dying. And my kids have to watch this. Like, if I die, I know Brian will take beautiful care of my children. But who's going to take care of Brian?
Yeah.
And I said, I need you to fix this. And almost, it just showed up in my head. And it just said, God is bigger than this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is, he is bigger than this illness. He is bigger than a doctor's diagnosis. He is bigger than anything this world can throw at you because he made this world.
Right. Right.
And my friend Melissa at the time, I don't even think she knows what a pivotal moment and how much it meant to me, but she says, Jen, God's not done with you.
Hmm.
you have a purpose and it's not here yet. And he won't take you home until it is. And so I just, when God told me that he's bigger, that's
Yeah.
kind of become my life motto.
Yeah, I know
Um,
that. Yeah. We're going to
I
do
mean,
something
every
with that at the
Facebook,
very end of this podcast, just so you know.
um, it's on every Facebook post I make. It, it really is. And so I stopped throwing up. I would throw up every once in a while, but I stopped throwing up to the point that the doctor was like, we're not going to take out your stomach. You've put on like, I think it was like 6 pounds in 2 weeks, which was phenomenal because I hadn't been able to do that at this point.
Right.
Um, and I continued to improve. I continued to improve. And within about 4 months, I was steady, putting weight on, going to physical therapy. I'd spent so much time in hospital beds that my shoulders, my joints didn't work really well. I had atrophied so much that it took me about, originally, when I was able to start eating, I was only on clear liquids, and I was on clear liquids for about 4 weeks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said I could go to full fluid or like full liquids, which, is like soup blended up and stuff.
Yeah.
But it took me about 6 months
Hmm.
to get on real food and to get through physical therapy and get strong enough that I could walk without assistance, or I could take a shower without a shower chair, or by myself, or to drive again. I was still terrifyingly skinny, but I was doing a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, and my doctor, Dr. Thirlby, when I went for my checkup, I walked in and he just throws his arms up and he says, "There is my miracle girl." He says, he was old. He was just about to retire. In fact, eventually I was the last patient he ever saw. Um, but he called me his miracle girl every time I saw him from that moment on. But he said, "I've been doing this a long time." He says, "And I can look in my career and there's about 10 people that I can't explain." He says, "And you're one of them. There's no reason you should be alive."
Hmm. Yeah.
And he says, people like you are why I believe that there's got to be a higher power, that God has got to exist, because medicine cannot explain you standing here, not only standing here, but you're not throwing up, you're on the road to recovery, and you're smiling and you're laughing. And he says, there's no reason, no earthly reason why you should be here.
So, Jen, let me divert the conversation for 1 second. You go through 4 months of clear liquid. That's basically just fluids. There's you can't put a lot of stuff in them, and then you move to broth and things that are not. There's no substance to them. They're just able to be digested, but they have a flavor. They have a mild
Yeah,
flavor, but you can't put.
those are like clear liquid.
Yeah, and so now you get that first chance to eat a meal. And it's like I'm using my teeth again. What did you want to eat?
Do you want to laugh? I didn't eat it for like
Yes.
a year, maybe a little less. But the whole time I was sick, I even told Dr. Thirlby, I wanted an Arby's beef and cheddar sandwich, which is like, it was like the weirdest thing. And it just sounded like amazing. I was like, I want an Arby's beef and cheddar. And he's like, you want a what? And I'm like, I don't know why, but that's what I want. And I mean, it took me a long time to get to that point to be able to
Yeah.
eat it, and it was the best sandwich I ever ate to this day. Like,
An Arby's beef.
I
and
remember,
cheddar.
I went 8 months without anything by mouth. Like, I couldn't even drink water.
Yeah.
Um, and the first time I had hospital vegetable broth. Now, that's not amazing. It's
No.
it's not delicious. But it was like the best thing I'd ever eaten.
Oh yeah.
Like it was the best thing I had ever eaten or tasted because it was the first flavor I had had in 8 months.
So back when I was going through my paralysis and all the other things going on, um, the only thing I could eat was eggs and Jello without throwing up. Anything else that touched my lips, it was coming back out. And the rest of my body had shut down, so there was nothing leaving the exit of my body. And I was a big mess. And to this day, almost every day I eat eggs because they just became my friend. Literally became my friend. I don't eat much Jello because I was like, one of you's got to go, and it's not going to be eggs. So Jello and I got a divorce, but the eggs and I have remained faithful to each other for all those years. And every time I eat an egg, I think, oh, this is so good. This is just so good. And all different ways of making them. It's just so good. So anyhow, um, so now let's keep going in your story because people, as you're listening, you can hear that this is not a life that hasn't had challenges. It's not a life that you could look at and say, well, you know, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and everything's good for you. And um, this is a life that has had difficulties literally from the time that you were born. Um, you know, your Aunt Lois has some stories about coming over to your house just to clean you up because nobody had moved. You know, your dad went to work and your mom wasn't awake yet, and you were sitting in a crib uh, full of whatever diapers are full of, and then she would go and bathe you and clean you, um, and you just haven't had an easy 2.5 that's standard life. And so so now you're moving to the other side of this gastrophoresis. Did I say it right?
No,
No,
it's
huh?
gastroparesis, like paralysis, paresis. So it's
Gastro
gastroparesis.
got it. So now that you're on the other side of this tummy thing, see, I'm using the medical term, this tummy thing that has been going on. Some other stuff is starting to accelerate in your life.
So before you go there, I had
Yes.
that gastric stimulator in my stomach. Um, and about 2 years after I had stopped throwing up, I had to go to Seattle every 6 months and get it checked. I went over and they said, there's something wrong with it. And they said, are you throwing up? And I said, no, like I'm fine. I feel fine. I hadn't thrown up at all for 2 years almost. They said, well, there's something not right. And so they did like an ultrasound and they did a CT scan because I couldn't have an MRI because I couldn't do the magnets because I had something in
Right.
me. Um, and they said, your leads, so it's like a machine and it's
Hmm.
got like two leads that come out and attach to my stomach, like two electrodes.
Yeah.
Um, they said, they're not attached. And they said, are you sure you're not throwing up? And I said, not throwing up. I'd have told you, like, you'd have seen, like, because I developed something called cichlid vomiting. So once I started, I couldn't stop.
Right. Right.
And I was like, you'd know, like, I'd be in the hospital, like, I'm not throwing up. And so they said, well, we've never seen this before. Like, and so they said, okay, well, go on home. We're going to figure out what to do and we'll call you. Well, they called me a week later and they said, we think we're going to take it out.
Hmm.
And I said, oh. And they said, you're not throwing up. You're the first person in the history of our hospital, and they were one of the premier places that did this, that we are taking one out because you don't need it.
Hmm.
That's never happened. And so they went in, and when they opened me up to take it out, it was super encased in scar tissue. But they said that the leads were bound up, like somebody had just rolled them up
Right.
and tucked them way away.
Hmm.
They weren't just floating around in there.
Right.
They literally were tucked,
They were put
like just
away.
kind of put away.
Yeah.
And they said they don't even know how it would happen that way.
Yeah. We might have a hint.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your tummy pacemaker. Forgive all the technical terms. I don't mean to, throw you off. Is disconnected from its electrodes, and now they remove it, and it's the first time they've ever had to remove one from somebody because it wasn't needed anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Gastroparesis is a chronic condition. Like
yes,
it doesn't go away.
right, and it's not supposed to, but it does. And then here you are. Some other things begin to creep into your life that were serious, medical issues, and they involved your kidneys.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because we got a good story to tell with that eventually.
Um, so when COVID hit, I couldn't I couldn't go to the doctor. As a diabetic, I'm immunocompromised. And everything you were reading said, if I got COVID, I was at a big high risk of being ultra sick. My kids did distance learning. We didn't go anywhere. But I didn't go to the doctor. I had telehealth appointments. So I didn't get any blood work done for like a year and a half. Um, I did eventually catch COVID. It was not horrible. I did end up in the hospital with it for about 10 days,
Okay.
but I wasn't on a vent. It triggered my gastroparesis came back and I threw up, which was my biggest problem. I threw up for about 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I did have a hard time breathing, but I recovered beautifully. Um, I was only in the hospital for 10 days at that point, which they were expecting me to be there much longer.
Right.
And then I went to an in-person endocrinology. That's a diabetes doctor, a hormone doctor, um, appointment. And they had me pee in a cup and I left the appointment and I get a phone call from a doctor who I'd never met. I didn't know who it was. And they said, yes, you've been given a referral to us from your endocrinologist. And I said, well, who are you and why am I getting a referral? They said, well, we're a nephrologist office. And I was like, well, what's a nephrologist office? Like, I had no clue. And they said, well, you're in kidney failure.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, so then I call my endocrinologist and I was like, what is going on? And they had tried to send me a message, but it didn't go through. It was still on their computer. It hadn't gotten to me. But basically, when I peed in the cup, it showed my creatinine, which is it's a byproduct your muscles make.
Right.
And it's like a waste product in your body. My creatinine was through the roof, and which means my kidneys were not working.
Hmm.
Um, and so I went to the nephrologist's office, and at that point, my kidneys were about 30% functioning.
Right.
There's something called your EGFR, and that loosely translates to percentage of kidney function.
Right.
And so they tell your kidney function through your creatinine and your EGFR. And my creatinine was through the roof. My EGFR was ridiculously low. And so they started trying to basically, like through medication and um, through diet,
Mm-hmm.
trying to slow the progression. They said sometimes people can live with an EGFR of 30 for years. And so, like 10 years or more, you can do this. No, I couldn't. They just, within about a year and a half, I was on dialysis.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
And your dialysis process, I'll just say this out loud, and if you don't like it, we'll edit it out. Because of all the other procedures, because of all the other medical conditions, because of all the other things that were going on in you and had gone in you, it was just really hard to get veins. It was really hard to find ways to hook the dialysis to you, to get the ports working, to keep the ports from clogging. And so your whole time on dialysis, was really just one step forward, two steps back, one step
They,
forward, two steps
yeah,
back.
they started with um, dialysis catheters in my chest. So they would go like right here and they would go under the skin up over my clavicle and into like basically down to my heart.
Right.
Uh, and there's a thing, it's a fibrin sheath, and it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like your body's almost encapsulating something that's not
Hmm.
normal. Um, I would make a fibrin sheath like a year's worth in a week.
Wow.
So I went through 9 catheters in 2 months. And that's a surgery every time.
Right. Right.
So then they tried to put in a fistula in my arm. Um, and my vascular system wouldn't support one because it's where they take like a vein and an artery and they connect it. And it creates like a large blood flow, which is enough to run the dialysis machine. Um, so then they said they were going to put in a dialysis graft, which is an artificial fistula, and they connect it to an artery and a vein. And so they tried to put it in my arm, um, and it caused something called Steele syndrome. So I woke up from surgery, and my hand was, I had no pulse in my hand.
Hmm.
I couldn't move it. And they said, oh, it'll come back. It's just surgery. Well, 6 hours later, it's still not working. And I looked at the doctor and I said, I teach kids to write for a living.
Right.
Like, I need my hand. And so he went in and he took the graft out. It took me about 6 months to get full functionality of my hand again.
Yeah.
Physical therapy and all the things that it takes. A lot
You're
of
so much
frustration.
you're so much better than me because you needed a full hand to teach kids to write. I need a full hand so that I know how to wave when I'm driving.
Well, I have my other one.
Oh, well, that's true.
I mean, God gives you two of them.
That's right.
Doesn't mean you have a spare, but
Yeah. And for those of you listening at home and just heard me say that, just pretend it was all Jennifer's fault. Okay, go ahead.
it's my fault. So they eventually realized that I could not run dialysis through my arms. So they put a graft, one of those artificial ones, in my thigh.
Yeah.
And it's a large loop, like say this is my leg, and it's a large loop in my leg.
Huh.
And you use 15 gauge needles to stab my leg. I have one for a venous and one for an arterial, and run dialysis through there. And I did in-center dialysis for about a year. I'm still working full time.
Right, right.
I'm extremely blessed to have the team that I work with. My boss that I work with are so understanding. I missed half a day, 2 days a week, and then I went on Saturdays.
Hmm.
Um, and the support was amazing. My paycheck was not. There were times where like I had to pay to work at the school,
Yeah.
just to cover my insurance, but I needed the insurance. Um, but I'm driving, my dialysis center is an hour away from where I live. So I'm driving an hour there and an hour back 3 times a week, um, in Montana in the winter, which is not lovely. Lots of snow, lots of ice. It's not exactly a safe drive in the winter sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
I did
think
it for a year.
I think people forget, Jen, that we talk about the physical things that hit you, and that's enough. But it created financial issues. It created logistic issues. It created uh, issues for other people who said, "Man, I gotta be here. I gotta connect here. I gotta do this." And so it's not like you just got sick and had to deal with it. This created a ripple effect, and in fact, it impacted a lot of people. So now you're driving 3 times a week. You're sometimes paying to work just so you could have insurance. Um, And what did they finally tell you you needed?
A kidney transplant.
Yeah. So, did you get one?
I did. Um, I applied first at Virginia Mason Hospital, the hospital that saved me with gastroparesis, um, and they denied me. I am 9 pounds over the recommended weight limit for a kidney transplant, and my weight is caused from insulin.
Yeah. And the fluid
I
buildup, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
um, but it's insulin. I never had a weight issue until I went on insulin, and the doctors all agree like insulin is a growth hormone,
Yeah.
and this is the side effect of it. Um, so then I applied to the University of Utah. There is no transplant center in Montana, so no matter where I went, I was going to have to travel hours and hours to get there, and they turned me down as well, and I was kind of devastated.
Yeah.
And I remember just praying, like, okay, God, is this what you want? Like, is this how I go out? Like, is this how I'm going home? You
Because
know,
they've told you if you don't get one soon,
I won't make
the
it.
clock is ticking.
Yeah, a leg graft only lasts about 2 years, and you only have two legs.
Yeah. So,
So I got 4 years. And at this point, I'm a year into it.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking at, I only have 3 years. I have O negative blood. O is the most sought after um, transplant organ. So the average weight for a deceased donor is about 5 years.
Hmm.
So I'm I'm living in faith, and I am just saying, okay, God, I'm following you, and I'm going to just put one step in front of the other, and what happens is what you want to happen.
Right. Right.
And so then I'm on Facebook. My husband hates Facebook, and I read about a cutting edge kidney transplant that is done with robotics.
Hmm.
So instead of the large incision, which is people who are heavier, they don't heal as well, and your risk of infection is a lot higher. Um, that's why you don't qualify for a transplant. This is a 2 inch incision, and then just these little arms that kind of go into your body, and they blow your belly up with air, and they operate inside you.
Yeah.
And it's safer for higher BMI people. And I read about it. It's at the University of Colorado and Anschutz campus in Aurora, Colorado. And I read about it, and I'm like, it's on Facebook. Like, nothing you read on Facebook is real. Like, but I call them, and I said, "Is this true? Is this something really you guys do?" And they said, "Absolutely." And I think my heart stopped. And I had dialysis the next day, and my doctor was in clinic, and I was like, "Dr. Lakatua, like I read about this program and this like cutting edge surgery, and they do it there, and it's real." And I said, "Can you send a referral?" And he says he did it like on the phone, like with his laptop right there in front of me while I'm on my dialysis machine. And at that point, I was just starting to do the training. My husband and I were to do dialysis at home so that I could continue to work and not have to drive as far, maybe easier on us financially, give me more freedom of when I could do dialysis.
Right.
It also comes with a lot of problems. But um, so he says, okay. And that was in June of 2025. And they called me back in a week. We also sent a referral to the Mayo Clinic. I did not hear from them. Finally, I called, and they said they were 3 to 6 months behind on kidney transplants. And so I was like, okay. So we sent it to Colorado. They got back to me within a week. And they said, how soon can you get here? And I said, well, I work at a school. I have the summers off. What do we got? And they said, how about July 2nd? Well, that's literally like 2 weeks from the point that I'm talking to them. And I said, I'll take it. I'm not sure how we're going to run it financially. I'm not sure how we're going to, but God opened that door and by golly, I'm going to step right through it.
Yeah.
And we, it worked somehow. Money came through just the way we needed it to. And we drove the 15 hours from our home
Mm-hmm.
here. And I met a lady named Kathy. She was my kidney transplant coordinator. And I said, I've been turned down by 2 different hospitals. I'm active. I'm, besides my weight, and my kidneys, obviously, like I'm healthy. I'm, I don't understand. And I said, am I going to get turned down here? And she looked at me and she says, I can't wait to get you a kidney.
Mm.
And I just started bawling. Like, I'm going to cry now. And she was right. I named my new kidney that's growing in my belly here. I've named it Kathy
Nice.
after her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they were so fast. And so they told me, while we're in this evaluation process, they gave me a list of 16 things I needed to do. I was up on all the things that they needed, but they wanted more tests. They wanted an EKG. They wanted a stress test. They wanted a normal echo. They wanted a colonoscopy. They wanted, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I live in Montana, like rural Montana. And there's a little tiny hospital south of me, about 25 miles south, and there's a bigger hospital 25 miles north of me. And I played them against each other. And I'd call one, hey, when's your earliest appointment? And I call the other, hey, when's your earliest appointment? And then I tell them both, I'll take whatever cancellation you've got.
Yeah.
And I got 16 tests done in a month.
Of course you did.
And I messaged Kathy constantly. Okay, here's these results. Okay, here's these results. And she says, I have never seen anybody get it done this fast. She says, there's a reason we give you 6 months.
Yeah.
And most people don't even get it done in 6 months.
Yeah.
And and so then she put me up in front of the transplant board and they approved me like that day.
Yeah.
She called me that afternoon and she says, you're approved. So now and at that point, other people had already started, they went on a website and had started applying to donate me a kidney because I didn't have the time to wait for a cadaver kidney.
Right. Right.
And so they started testing people as soon as I was approved. And my brother was a match.
Mm. Little Joshua Lee, a match.
Yep. I've called him Brat my whole life. We used to joke, like, because he's 6 years younger than I am.
Right.
And we used to joke all the time, like, he turns 21 and he's going to go out and have a couple beers. And I'd say, I might need a kidney someday. So you got to take care of your body. Because I used to tell him had my spare parts. Like, just as a joke, I bought him birthday cards saying, like, happy birthday to my closest organ donor. Like, we've joked about that for years.
Yeah.
And but as soon as I told my brother, I'm in kidney failure. Yeah. He didn't even blink. He says, where do I go? Where do I sign up?
Yeah. Yeah.
His heart is just beautiful.
It is. It is. It is. And he also has something to hold over you for the rest of your life. Hey, Josh, remember that sweater I bought you for Christmas? Yeah, I do. That was nice. But remember that time you needed a kidney?
He got the surgeon, when they took the kidney out of him, he got the surgeon to take a picture of his kidney.
And he did, yes.
So he's like, anytime you make me mad, I'm just going to send you this picture.
That's great.
And I'm like, he's going to have this forever, like ever. And he's going to love it.
He is.
He already is. He is already loving it. Like,
you are too, because as of today, your brother's kidney is inside of you. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how's that going?
it's the kidney itself is running wonderfully. Like it is. So my EGFR before the day I had my transplant was 8. So my kidney function was roughly about 8%. And my creatinine was 6.8, which is, it's supposed to be like, I think 1.2 is the highest it's supposed to be. Um, and as of yesterday, my EGFR is 70,
Mm.
which is, as they say, is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
The best case scenario. And my creatinine went from a 6.8 to a 1.01.
Mm.
So I am well in normal range. My potassium level has leveled out because that's a problem with dialysis.
Right.
And if your potassium gets too high, your heart stops.
Right.
My potassium levels leveled out. My phosphorus is actually low. So when I was on dialysis, I had to watch those things. I didn't eat any kind of high potassium food, no bananas, potatoes, tomatoes, um, that kind of thing. No high phosphorus foods, no dairy, not a lot of red meat, um, anything processed at all. Couldn't eat it. I mean, and then with diabetes on top of it, like my meals sucked.
Yeah.
Uh, and so now I have to eat all the things that I haven't eaten in like a year. First thing I did was in the hospital was order a banana. Oh,
I love
it
it.
was,
Yeah.
it was a great banana.
It was
But
the best banana you've ever had.
it was, except for the one you mashed in my nose.
Well,
Um,
that goes without saying. So, you know.
but yeah, it's doing great. I've had some hiccups. My transplant was December 17th. Um, about 2 weeks, I was out of the hospital within 3 days.
Hmm. Amazing.
I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, this is TMI, but I almost completely had stopped urinating before, and it never felt so good to go pee in my whole life. Like it was, it's just like you don't appreciate things until you have them. And um, yeah, so about 2 weeks after transplant, I started feeling pressure. Now they leave your old kidneys in,
Right.
and they put your new one in the front in your abdomen. And I started feeling a lot of pressure. Mine is on the left side, which is not normal. Normally they put them on the right first. Um, but because I have that leg graft in my right side, it's already stealing blood from my leg. So they did not want to put one there because they take blood from your leg to give your kidney the blood it needs. Um, I started getting pressure. It turns out they weren't sure originally what it was, if it was um, like urine, because they use my brother's ureter and attach it to my bladder.
Right.
And sometimes that'll cause a leak. And so then the treatment for that is they put in a catheter and they keep your bladder completely empty so that that can heal, because my bladder had shrunk so much that now that I'm going to the bathroom, my bladder's got to expand
Right.
and it's got to grow again. It's kind of like being potty trained,
Yeah.
but at 45 years old. Um, and they thought it could be that. They thought it could be an infection, or they thought it could be like lymphatic fluid from a lymph node. So I had an ultrasound. The ultrasound showed that I had a large collection of fluid. They gave me a CT scan and it showed I had a large collection of fluid, but they didn't know what it was. So they put me back in the hospital. At that point, my kidney function dropped. It went from about 65% or an EGFR of 65 down to about 40.
Hmm.
So they were very concerned. But because I'm on a blood thinner, they had to put me in the hospital and put me on heparin, on an heparin drip for 3 days to get the other blood thinner out of my system. And they put in a drain. They realized that it's lymphatic fluid, so it's kind of the best case scenario. I still have the drain in. It just kind of hangs out there. But they're talking about removing it at this point. I've had it about a week and a half. Um, and they're going to, I think they said, inject betadine in
Right.
through the drain, and that will basically dry up that lymph node.
So
And so,
you are on the right track. Your numbers are increasing. Your brother has something to hold over you for the rest of your life. Um, I want to wrap this up because we want people to be able to listen to this whole thing. And so we're going to do something to wrap it up. I didn't tell you we are going to do this.
uh-oh.
Um, oh, you never know what that means coming from me, do you?
No, I never
So
do.
okay, so your slogan for life is, "My God is bigger," and we're going to do a little stroll. And every time I pause and look at you, I want you to just say, "My God is bigger."
Okay.
Okay. So a little girl grows up in fear and anxiety because of the condition of her home and the addiction of her mother. And even though she didn't know him, there's something that she could say to people.
My God is bigger.
Yeah, yeah. And then one day, her uncle shows up and says, "Hey, you're coming with me." And from that point on, you were reconnected to your father. You were um, mesmerized by the faith of your grandmother. You meet Jesus. And what do you say to that?
My God is so much bigger.
Mhm. And then you take your journey through high school. You do high school type things. You are trying to find your way out of the way of the weight of a home of a lot of rules and the weight of just being under people's leadership that you just don't want to be. And so you move to Montana, and in a couple of days you meet somebody who now becomes your husband for 21 plus years. And what do you say to that?
My God is bigger.
Yeah. You have two beautiful daughters who have journeyed with you, who've carried burdens with you, who've helped you wash and clean, who have remained beautiful spirits in them, whose lives aren't filled with bitterness. And you have a husband who tenderly cares for you. He's just keeping the promise he made for better, for worse, for sickness and in health. And what do you say to that?
My God is bigger.
Yeah. And then throughout your journey, you've been able to live in a place where you can grow a garden, where you can have your animals, where you can go fishing, where you can cook things, where you can see the sky. Uh, and so, in the midst of all of the health issues, you're living in what is technically your paradise. And what do you say to that?
My God is bigger.
Yeah, and then when your whole body revolts against you because of a paralysis in your digestive system, and nobody knows what to do, and you're vomiting between 30 and 50 times a day, and life is miserable and your body hurts. um, what did
My
you
God
learn?
is my God is so much bigger.
Yeah. And you sit there and God says, I'm so much bigger than this sickness, so much bigger. And they find a way to treat you. They put in your tummy pacemaker, and it's not working the way at an ideal level or at all. You code twice in the hospital. You're brought back. You have struggled with uh, sickness, disease, weakness. You lay in a hospital bed. Um, and this is not the life you signed up for, but it's the life you have. And what did you discover?
My God is bigger, and He
Yeah,
will bless you through it all.
yeah, yeah. And then you get out of that, and you lose your job. You change jobs. You get denied disability. That's not even a part of the story we told. Even though it's obvious that you need it, somebody the system didn't do what it was meant to do, and financially it's been difficult, and you're you're discovering that this journey is somebody's got to shake the deck because it's not landing on aces for you. Somebody's got to shuffle these cards. What did you figure out?
That God is bigger.
Yeah. And so somewhere along the way, you go and you pee in a cup. It's a medical thing. She didn't just like randomly do that. It's a medical thing, and they call you and they say, or a doctor you don't even know calls you and says, "Hey, we got an issue to talk about," and it turns out it's kidney failure. What what do you got to say to that?
I had to remember that God is bigger.
Yeah, yeah, and along the way, they're struggling to get ports for dialysis. They're struggling. You got more holes in you and poked holes in you and scars in you than any human being should ever have. You have sat there and gone in for a treatment and found out you couldn't do it because there was a clot, because something had not worked right, because something was different. And all along the way, what is the truth that you know?
That God is bigger than this.
Yeah, yeah. And then you go through a process and you apply to have a kidney transplant. You're literally given 2 to 3 years to live if you make it that far. You need a kidney transplant. You go to one hospital, you go to another, and you're denied both. And somewhere along the way, you get accepted at a hospital in Colorado. And what is God showing you?
That He's bigger. That
Yeah,
He's got this.
yeah. And then the brat, who also known as Joshua, also known as your little brother, says without hesitation, "You can have one of my kidneys." And it's a match, and he gives it to you, and you are now working at 70%, and your creatinine is 1.01%. What do you know?
That God is so much bigger.
Yeah. Jen, I just want to say to you that you've modeled that for people. Your spirit has modeled that for people. You living that. You believe it. I know you know. I messaged you the other day and said, "Hey, man, sorry for the setback," and that was a week ago. And you finished your text with me. God is bigger, and I was just trying to remind you, hey, God, a lot of people praying for you, and God is He's responding to you, and you say, "Oh yeah, He's bigger." And so, what I want to say to you is keep that in mind. Your God is bigger because people are seeing it through your life. They're seeing it through your story. And that's why I wanted you to come on to the podcast today and just be able to say those words. What are they?
My God is bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's somebody out there right now who is struggling in a marriage, who's struggling as a parent, who's struggling in their dollars, who's struggling in their faith, who's struggling to believe. There's somebody out there listening right now whose job uh, is not what they want. They feel trapped. They feel weighted down. There's just so many things going on. Their health isn't what it is, what they want. The dreams that they had as a young person is not the life they're living as an older person. And you are a living testimony to the truth that what?
That God is bigger.
Yeah, yeah. Jen, thanks for being on here today, and thanks for reminding everyone who's going to listen to this that God is bigger. And I love you. I'm
I
proud
love
of
you.
you, and I can't wait to find out how people hear this story and what it does. I'm going to just close with this. Jen's process didn't cost $13.95. It's been a very expensive process, and we're going to put in the show notes a couple places where you can donate to help resource this. She's not been able to work for a while. She can't go back to work for a while. There's been a lot of travel. There's been a lot of back and forth, flying to Colorado from Montana and back again, and driving. And then there's the rental of an Airbnb because she has to stay someplace and can't stay in a hospital. But it's got to be a clean place. It can't be a place where. And then there's always the 24-hour care that she needs. And then there's food, and there's been a lot of generous people along the way who helped, but there's still a deficit that is significant. And if you are so moved to be a part of the story that says her God is bigger, there's going to be a couple links in the notes of this show where you can go on and just make a donation and say, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of the story that God is bigger. I want to be a part of that story. And so, Jen, is there anything else you want to say to people before we sign off?
Don't ever give up.
Yeah,
God doesn't give up on us.
yeah, that's a pretty good message, and you're living it. All right, girl. I'm going to get out of here. I love you, and join us next time on the Say Yes podcast.